keynotes today. The first one is Alan Pound. He is the managing director at Acculab. I first went to visit Acculab in the late 90s, and they're based out of the UK. And at the time, I learned all about how the company had transitioned from being a music production company to and making high-end audiophile gear into becoming a company that makes boards that allow products like voicemail to work. And that industry was a relatively slow growth industry. It basically consisted of putting DSPs on boards, dropping them in computers, and making things like auto attendants and IVR systems and things that would answer the phone in an automated fashion when you called to make airline reservations or, again, for voicemail. But then in the 90s, we experienced a revolution in the convergence of communications and technology or computing, and that became computer telephony integration. And that market allowed telecom to really surge as products became less expensive and more flexible. How many people were in the telecom business and remember the CTI days or the computer telephony days? So that's a good, well, 50% of you. All right. So I followed Acculab for many years. We've worked with them. They've been a sponsor of this event for at least a decade. And we've watched their progress, and now they've done something new, which they believe is the next revolutionary step in communications. And that is that they have moved their platform from traditional computer telephony integration to the cloud. So I know yesterday we talked about how the cloud is excessively hyped. Some people believe it's excessively hyped. Some people believe it's not hyped enough. The potential, and I spoke with Alan this morning at length, the potential for the cloud is beyond what you can imagine if you just sit down and start thinking about it. And I don't want to steal his thunder, but because they're onto some really interesting things at Acculab, I wanted to bring Alan Pound onto the stage for you guys to share some time with him and learn more about the company's vision for the cloud. Please join me in welcoming him.
Good morning. Thanks very much for that build-up. I think definitely got something to live up to now. Right. Okay, I hope everyone's feeling chipper and clear this morning. But yeah, this is the keynote. So my expectation was not to be doing anything that was overtly product-based. So you'll understand when you'll see it's sort of covertly product-based. So it does hopefully have some general interest and general information. Bit about the company. Well, Rich has already done this in a way. Headquartered in Milton Keynes in the UK, and we've also got presence in a number of international locations. And we've been delivering enabling technology since about 1990. I'm the founder and what we call the managing director. And if you're wondering what that photograph is on that slide, someone who's a lot smarter than I am and rather irritatingly a lot younger than me, suggested that I ought to have some very nice, attractive photographs of attractive young people with headsets or mobile phones, and de rigueur for these kind of presentations. So there she is, and I just wanted to get that out of the way really early. Enabling technology, so I mean it's facts, voice, data, various kinds, media, connectivity of various kinds, and we deliver APIs and software libraries, doing all the kind of things you need to do if you're going to deal with voice in whatever environment. So that's where I'm coming from, and that's the kind of thing. That's the kind of environment that we're talking about, and how that might be moved into the cloud. And our customers typically are in a number of areas. I mean, they are fairly broad, but the large body of them fall into certain categories. So, the cloud, that's the subject of the talk today. What is it? And it's a good idea, I think, to deal with that first. I mean, the cloud is hot, there's no doubt about that. I see that every day in my spam email box, and if I believe what I see there, the cloud is currently sexier than Viagra. It must be true. I've got the statistics to prove it. Cloud is an upsell and upgrade opportunity, and that's, I think, true in a number of ways, and I think some of the hype stems out of this. I mean, it's certainly an opportunity in the market to sell capabilities in a different way. So it's an opportunity for some market churn, some new sales opportunities, and new frontiers to go and conquer. But it's also, in a sense, an upgrade opportunity, because if you're a vendor of some kind of hosted product, you can take that hosted label off your product, you can put the word cloud on there, and instant product development. Just like that. Zero development costs, but it's really just the same thing. This is an opinion. It's my view that the cloud is the natural destination of many current technologies and services. And for me, I'm absolutely certain that our technology, that's where the whole thing's heading, and that's where we need to be going, and that's where the opportunity in the future, the growth opportunity is going to be. And there's a few exceptions I'll talk about. So what is the cloud? I mean, is cloud outsourcing? It's usually outsourcing. Hosting? Yes, it's usually hosting. If you look at that, then it's nothing new. It's just more of the same, but there's some spin on it, and there's some new buzzwords. Can that really be true? If it were true, then it wouldn't be anything at all, and nobody really would have any interest. There would be nothing. Now, I think, taking a more positive approach to the same question, there's a number of elements. I think certainly it implies providing services over the internet, over network connections, and software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and it implies also delivered via the net. It implies pay for use. I think that's kind of expected. The important part is it's OPEX rather than CAPEX. And I think this is a fairly significant element, that you don't have to make use of speech processing and telecommunications in a cloud environment. You're not looking at installing lots of equipment, this traditional way of going about things, lots of servers and specialized telecoms equipment, getting trunks in, all the maintenance agreements, and that's the other thing is if you've got a serious service that needs to run 24/7, then you've got to think about power backup. It's not just uninterruptible power supplies. They only last a certain amount of time. You've got gen sets, you've got people looking out and maintaining them, make sure they work when you need them. And if this system has to keep working over the weekend, which most of these things do, then you've got to have staff on hand. Something, alarm goes off somewhere, they've got to be there to sort it out very quickly. Cloud, for me at least, implies a full cloud stack. And I think this, in a sense, this is the most contentious statement I've made on this slide. But I'll talk a little bit more about that. But my view is also that cloud is a disruptive technology. And that's disruptive technology in the context of the Clayton Christensen book. I'm sure everyone's heard about that, read it. If you haven't at least heard about it, I don't know where you've been for the last 10 years, but you can certainly find out by going on Google and putting those disruptive technology in there and following the breadcrumbs, and it's certainly an important thing to understand, and has been for some time, frankly. So, full cloud stack, I mean, this is just a very simple diagram of, at the top you've got application software sitting on a platform, sitting on some sort of infrastructure, and the infrastructure is basically virtual machines. This is Amazon and Rackspace and a number of people in that space. Providing virtual machines as a service, an infrastructure as a service. It may be that the next layer up, that you only see the offering as a platform as a service, which might be a web application platform like Google Application App Engine or the Microsoft Azure product. And then at the top end, the thing that the actual consumers consume, which is the software service at the top level. And often those different layers are all distinct layers. But even if you're really providing a product at the top level, it's my view that you really ought to be consuming the same kind of elements, outsourced elements underneath. Because if you're interested actually in a bit of bear baiting, I mean, one way of going about this is to find businesses that are offering outsourced services, software as a service, and just ask them, how's it hosted? And if you hear, okay, well, it's on Amazon, whatever, you say, that's fine, you move on. But if they say, well, if we host ourselves, and then you can ask the question, well, why aren't you using a fully outsourced infrastructure.